Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, and today I'm going to be reviewing the third comic book series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is The Rift. Okay, so I've done reviews of both The Promise and The Search, the two preceding comic book trilogies, I guess, for Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I said they were good. Not great, but they were good. It answered a couple questions about, like, Zuko's mother, what happened to her, and stuff like that. It kind of begins the process of what happens after the 100-Year War, and we start to get sort of an understanding of how the United Republic from The Legend of Korra came to be. We didn't fully get there, but we're starting to get there. We're seeing the building blocks of that. This one, The Rift, is amazing. I'm just gonna say that right here. This one is amazing. This is what I was hoping for with the comics. Again, the other two I thought were good, but I was almost disappointed by them, pretty much, because they were just good. They were just kind of like average episodes of the show. Of course, if you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know how good an average episode can be. But this wasn't great. It was just good. But The Rift really was great. So, alright, I'm saying how great it is. What is it? What's it about? The Rift is basically, Aang is continuing to teach the new Air Acolytes that he got, I guess at the end of The Promise. Yeah. At the end of The Promise, he formed the Air Acolytes out of the Avatar Aang fan club, and so he's just teaching them the ways of the Air Nomads. Because of this, he realizes that the next day is actually the beginning of Yang Chen's festival. A festival for the Air Nomads, named for Avatar Yang Chen, the last Air Nomad avatar before Aang. So, Aang takes this opportunity to take the Acolytes and Katara and Sokka and Toph, no Zuko in this one, and they all go to celebrate the festival. Basically, we start to get conflict between... Why does that sound wrong to say? Whatever. We get conflict with Aang and Toph, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, what happens is that Aang, is very instilled in his traditions. He loves his traditions and he wants to keep these traditions alive. Toph remembers all the traditions she had to go through when becoming, a prim and proper Earth Kingdom noble, and she hates that, and sort of those memories are kind of coming back to haunt her, and so she really does not like the festival because of all these traditions. But that's not the only conflict here. There's supposed to be a garden where all the Air Nomads go and they have a picnic on Yang Chen's festival. Well, the garden is completely gone, and now there's a town and a factory there that's actually polluting this sacred river. So it's kind of like what you would expect from Avatar. It's sort of like the episode of the Northern Air Temple, when Aang goes back there, realizes that his traditions are not being kept up, and they're just these people that are just using this sacred place for their own good. But, in this case, the factory is really bad. The people there are generally bad, with some exceptions in the management of the factory. But sort of the higher-ups they really don't care about any of that. Whereas one of the, managers at this factory, Satoru, he actually... It's not really that he's just, mean and doesn't care. It's like, he's very nice, he's very compassionate. He's willing to listen to Aang. And he starts to form a friendship with Toph, because Toph is excited about all of the, the future and stuff, the big industry that's booming here. So through this, because Yang Chen's festival is not being celebrated, it hasn't been celebrated for 100 years, and now these people are here in this sacred garden, now there's some trouble with a giant spirit, General Old Iron, and I know I'm kind of skipping around the plot now that I actually think about it. It's been a little while, like a couple weeks since I actually read the story. It's just taken me a little while to get to making this video, because I've had other stuff to do. So excuse me if I'm not 100% about this story. That just means you need to go read the story. It's amazing. So there's this giant spirit who is mad about this sacred place being defiled, basically, and we're kind of wondering, well, why does he care about this place? And it's like, and he's not an air nomad, he's not an air bending spirit or anything. It's like he's just a spirit, an old general, and it's actually Avatar Yang Chen who appears to Aang and is able to tell the story of General Old Iron. And so we get a flashback to Yang Chen's life. So this is centuries ago. There was just this town here. It's like the most advanced town, or the most advanced city, I guess, in the world at the time. I kind of question that because Ba Sing Se has always kind of been that most advanced city, but whatever. That doesn't matter, I'm sure some cities can surpass Ba Sing Se, and you'll see how Ba Sing Se surpassed them in a second. So there's a city, and there's a king there, and his wife had just passed away, and basically he has these fortune tellers there that are saying that doom and gloom is gonna come upon this city, and it's like going to be a total devastation, and everyone's going to be killed. So obviously the person you call for something like that is the Avatar, and we see a young Yang Chen in this flashback. Now normally when we see Yang Chen, she's older, she's kind of, I wouldn't really say in her prime, but sort of just how, I guess she was remembered. She's older, wiser, she's had so much experience being the Avatar, and lost my train of thought. Where was I? Alright, she's older, she's experienced, she's very wise, but here we see a very young Yang Chen. They actually say it's only been a week since she's mastered the 4 elements, and she hasn't even mastered the Avatar state yet. It still kind of eludes her. She's actually not all that spiritual, which is interesting for an air nomad. But Yang Chen comes in with one of her masters, who is kind of there to protect her and keep an eye on her, make sure everything goes okay, basically on her first mission. Now that she's mastered all the elements, she's basically like just about a fully realized Avatar. So they're sending someone to help with that. And it's interesting with Yang Chen, because again, I said, we normally see Yang Chen as the very, she's older, she's more experienced, she's very stern, very strict. That actually can be seen with the Avatar after her. That Avatar didn't really have to deal with any world struggles or anything, because everyone was kind of put in line by Yang Chen, and so no one did anything to upset order, even after Yang Chen died and Kuruk, the Avatar that came after her, was alive, basically. But all that being said, we have a younger Yang Chen, like I've been saying. She's more, I guess, happier. Well, not exactly happier, but she's more naive or inexperienced, or I don't know how you put that. But she's very eager to, help people. She's very excited, and then basically what happens is that General Old Iron comes in, this giant spirit guy. He comes in and he says, my friend, Lady Tianhan, she's this great spirit, and this city killed her. And the king is like, yes, we knew about her. She did die. It is our fault. And so, then, because they admitted that, General Old Iron is very pissed, and so he tries to attack and destroy the city, and Yang Chen has to fight him. What ultimately happens is, because neither of them can really defeat each other, they're kind of equally matched in a fight. So basically, the agreement they come to, I believe, I can double check it just to be sure. I have part 3. This will just take me a second. Got it. Cool. Okay. Basically, Yang Chen made a statue honoring Lady Tianhan and promised that no human would ever settle on this land. So, because of that, she also instituted this festival for Lady Tianhan to honor her, and the air nomads, would honor her and the sacred place for a few days and then leave. They wouldn't stay there permanently. They would just come by, pay their respects, and then they'd go. And this eventually became known as Yang Chen's festival. And then pretty much no one tried settling on this land because it was a sacred place to the air nomads. Well, now we kind of see a problem. 100 years ago, the air nomads were wiped out. No one has been celebrating Yang Chen's festival, but no one has settled on the land in all that time, which is something I kind of question. Maybe it wouldn't be immediate, but I would think that someone would go there and try to settle there, even just for a little bit. But flash forward to the modern day, I suppose I can say. Flash forward to the present day, and sorry, I'm just scratching my knee. So flash forward to the present day, and there's this factory here that's polluting the river and making the place look terrible. And so General Old Iron comes in and he's like, look, we had an agreement, you broke the agreement, I'm going to destroy this place. And he actually says, like, I'm going to destroy humanity because you guys are terrible. And so, naturally, it's Aang's job to go in and stop him, and he also tries to come to an agreement with General Old Iron. And then Aang decides that the only way to get rid of him is to destroy the factory, basically go back to what Yang Chen promised. So Aang tries to destroy the factory, but Toph is there, and Toph doesn't want the factory to be destroyed, just for some silly old traditions, which I don't know about that. So she's ready to fight Aang until Aang has to fight General Old Iron in order to protect people from being killed, and Toph realizes that it's like basically that the factory is not worth it. She shouldn't be fighting with her friend. She should be fighting to save people. So her and her metal benders go, and basically, because the reason this guy's called Old Iron is because his armor is iron. Even though it kind of looks like rock, it is iron. So the metal benders peel away at his armor, and Aang can, get in there and really start attacking him. And then, once... I don't even know how they got rid of General Old Iron. Let me see here. Okay. So basically, I'm just kind of reading this real quick. Just kind of looking this over. Because General Old Iron is about to, really kill them and hurt them, and in the Avatar state just goes right through, just sends like all 4 elements like through his chest. There's a giant hole in his chest now, and General Old Iron is just like, wow, you guys are powerful. You guys are really, really powerful. Like, way more powerful than I am. And he's like, I can't compete. I'm leaving to go back to the spirit world. So he's not leaving happy. You know, he doesn't like that he has to leave now. But he is going peacefully. He's not trying to attack anymore because he knows that they could beat him. Because he's seen, you know, even just advancements in bending. Like, now that he has seen that earthbenders can bend metal and take away his armor, that was not possible during Yang Chen's time. And the Avatar state being so powerful to actually blast through his chest, it's way too powerful for him, and so he leaves. And then, sort of to wrap things up, Aang, they kind of institute a new festival, where basically the town is still there, the factory is still there, but it's under new management of Satoru, who is still, you know, innovating and trying to, you know, have his factory get better, but he's also respecting the wishes of the Avatar. He's not polluting the place, and, you know, now there's this new festival, sort of as a replacement for Yang Chen's festival. And sort of everyone is happy. During all this, there is a lot more with Toph. She deals with a lot of stuff, again, with, you know, the memories of being taught her earthbending noble traditions and stuff. That comes back, especially when there's a character that comes in that really reminds her about that, and she has to deal with that, and there's conflicts there. I won't really give it away, because I've given away a lot in this. But yeah, overall, the Rift was amazing. It really, really was. It's basically what I've wanted out of these comics. Is that... But see, I don't even know what's different about it, because even with, like, The Search, it's kind of the same thing. There's... I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know why I like this so much better, but it's like, you know, there's stuff with spirits, there's a conflict in there, in The Search, you know, they're trying to find, Zuko and Azula's mother. In this, you know, they're trying to, it's tradition versus the future, I guess, versus innovation, and there are flashbacks for someone else. Like in The Search, there's flashbacks to Ursa's past. You know, how she met Fire Lord Ozai, and stuff like that. In this, there's flashbacks to Avatar Yang Chen. But for some reason, I don't even know why, but this one is a lot better. It's a lot more tightly written, and it really does feel like an episode of Avatar. And maybe because we had more in each comic. Like, when I really think about this, they put a lot into these 3 issues. If I can grab these real quick. I was kind of saying in my review of The Search, they didn't really do a whole lot. It's like, Part 1, they find the town that Ursa is in. Part 2, they get a little bit closer to finding Ursa. Part 3, well, we found her, Azula's crazy, alright, bye. And that's it. It's like, come on, we need some time to develop this. We just kind of need some time. It's like, we should have found Ursa in the 2nd issue, and then we would have more time with her to develop her, instead of just like finding her at the end and leaving these cliffhangers. But these 3, these were really good. They pack a lot into these 3 issues. There's a lot of lore. There's conflicts between characters. There's still a lot of good character moments for, like, Toph's metal bending students or the Air Acolytes. There's just a whole lot here. There's even some side characters that get some pretty good development. Even Sokka and Katara are not that useless in this. I was kind of thinking in the last couple issues, it's like, why are Sokka and Katara even there? It's like, in The Promise I can kind of get, because they're like emotional support, except for Sokka. Sokka didn't really help that much in The Promise. In The Search, both Katara and Sokka really did not have a purpose there. Like, I get why Aang was there. He wanted to help. Well, Aang was there to help Zuko, but also protect him if Azula got out of hand. That makes sense. You got to bring some backup for Azula. But there was really no purpose to having Katara or Sokka there. This one, there is a purpose to having all the characters there, and they bring back Toph, which is good. So yeah, if you haven't picked up the Rift, like let's say, I guess if you've read The Promise and The Search and you're kind of underwhelmed by those, definitely pick up the Rift because this one is really good. Honestly, you're not missing much from The Promise and the Search if you want to just skip right to the Rift. Like, you were kind of questioning if you should read these comics for these Avatar comics. And you've kind of, maybe you've heard about The Promise and the Search and maybe you're not really enthused about it. I would still say definitely check out the Rift. It's really good. And obviously, I wouldn't buy the whole thing, like the collection thing. There is some like behind the scenes like notes next to it, but I don't think it's really worth it. Plus, it's a bit more expensive. I would just go with the 3 issues. That's how I do it. It's just a lot better. Plus, the cover art is a lot better. Well, those 2 are okay. It just kind of shows the character. But this one, the 3rd one, is pretty good. So yeah, that is basically it. The Rift is amazing. Definitely read it if you're a fan of Avatar. And definitely read it especially if you were underwhelmed by The Promise and the Search. So next up on the list would be North and South. I don't know when I'm going to be able to review those. It's probably going to be a little while. But yeah, that is basically that. So, end cards are going to pop up right about now. You can click on those. You can follow 7th Hour Films on Twitter at 7th Hour Films. And, yeah, that's basically it. I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.